2014, the students of Ananda College and Jaffna College got together and started a tradition. This tradition was to have an annual debate between Jaffna College and Ananda College. Starting the traditional order, I would like to invite the teacher in charge of Jaffna College and the two deputy principals of Ananda College and the teacher in charge of Ananda College and the two OBA presidents of Jaffna College and Ananda College and the two team captains to be there and light up the oil lamp. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite all of you all to rise for the college anthem. Now, to welcome the gathering, I would like to invite Mr. Harendra Dahanayaka, the Secretary.
Good evening. We are delighted to have you here at the Panikata and Bal Singh Memorial Share English Debating Tournament between Jaffna College and Ananda College, Colombo, held in connection with the Siva Guru Nanak Memorial Trophy. That many of you have travelled a long distance serves to remind us all just how important this fixture is in both of our schools' calendars. Ananda College is pleased to host this year's debate. Since there is a debate competition, there will be a lot of speeches throughout this whole very evening, so I think it is best to keep my speech short. So let me do what I'm here to do.
And to move on with the debate, the proceedings of the debate, I would like to invite the chairperson of today's debate, Samas Kudasekara.
It is with immense pleasure that I welcome all of you and every single one of you to this third consecutive Manikar Kanabal Singham Memorial Challenge Shield debate. Proposing the motion from Jaffna College is this House believes that governments with racially diverse populations should never record the ethnic or racial backgrounds of their residents. And opposing the motion, Ananda College, I would like to invite both teams to the as the moderator, I am supposed to be laying down some rules. There will be 6-minute speeches, and the replies will be consisting of 4 minutes. And there will be one clap at the first minute, and after that clap, only can POIs be raised. And there will be another clap at 5 minutes, where all POIs will have to be abstained. And there will be 2 claps at 6 minutes, where the speaker must conclude his speech. Thank you. Without further ado, I would like to invite the Prime Minister to give his case.
Good evening to this House, my colleagues and the opposition party. Today the motion in this House is that this House believes that governments with racially diverse populations should never record ethnic or racial background of their residents. As a Prime Minister, I have to explain about my topic that this debate is not about we should have or we should not have races. I agree that we should have races and races will be still alive here. But what I am coming to say is that we should not match the individuals' names with the races. Races will be still there. There will be a rough count, a rough sketch, and a general view. But no more recording, no more identification. We want let you are this race, you are this ethnic group, you are majority, you are minority. That's no more here. So I am going to deal with main 3 points in the topic that we should not match one person's with races. First, recording about one's ethnic or racial background is not important. Second, is risk and the bad effects of it. 3, separation of state and races in future. In coming to my first point, racial or ethnic background is not an important matter. First I ask, why do governments need it? As a government, it's duty of us to serve our people, give the fundamental standard of living, security, health, education, everything. Why do we expect their races to be known? For example, if one goes to the hospital to an operation, why are we asking their race? What's the connection between a race and the operation? And it leads to many issues, superiority complex, and even divisions are there. Except for an interview, you go with a main document is birth certificate. In that certificate, you are going to be known with what race you belong to. Without the wish of the interviewer, you are going to be known with what race you belong to. You are letting them know that I am this race, this ethnic group, I am this minority. And it will cause, sometimes I will be deprived of that job, or even if I get selected, I will be ill-treated. And in this globalization world, everyone is leading a hectic life. They would afford that which ethnic group they belong to or which race they are. It's government, as we are suppressing them, that you are this group, you are minority, sir. And letting them, it's a problem. Right? All are human beings with Homo sapiens we are. Red bloods are being, all have red bloods. And why are we taking it as a problem? Making privacy issues. So, in dealing with my first point, I argue that it's our duty to serve our people, we don't need their races for them. And second, is people's privacy. Why they should tell what race they are to and let them into trouble. And now I move on to my second point. What are the bad effects and risks involved when considering races? I don't know that it's fully bad or it's fully risky, but it's preferable to say that it's risky. We had a better education in our past 4 and in the 30 years we learned. So it's not preferable. I can even say that it's risky. We should not make record data, right? And I said that it's problem. First, we don't need it as per said earlier, and second, it's very risky. First, you may have heard about the problems in Jews, about Jews, they killed Jews in Germany, and about Hitler. And second, there are many communities.
Yes, sir. So would you simply show us how the state not recording their ethnicity or race is going to stop these people from recognizing people by their appearance?
Sir, I wish to say with an example that there are some communities of IS, Taliban and so on. And they are killing one identity specifically. They are killing by specifically, you are this group, so we are killing. And you say that you should make a statistical book about this data. And what would happen if they got this data? And they enough to get into the FBI account of America. Right? And about the politicians. Politicians are very using us, our problems into their politics. Religious leaders become as political leaders and many problems. They get use of us, our races, and make this big issues. But we are not. So, with these 2 points, I thought to tell you that data about one racial background should not be recorded. Listen carefully that I am not against racism. I am saying that we should not point out one by this race and discuss ethnic groups and note it down in a paper and keep it forever. And as a government, it's my duty to serve my people. And they need what they need, do what they want. Government is for the people, from the people, by the people. As a PM, I am putting a background against all this stuff. And I don't make it, I don't wish to make the same mistake that the past government did. And I wish to say that it's our first step against racism. And you guys want to know something that these kinds of problems is like cancer. We can't just deal with first aids or so. We have to do a great operation against it. We have to notice the seed point which leads to such issues. That in that operation, everyone should participate. Farmers, doctors, policemen, teachers, everyone. And in this first step, I am seeking one of your support. And if you is opposite, is saying that you are a racist or you are opposing our wish. And I hope I will get all my support. And I end up my speech and my second speaker will follow it. But I wish to share something about the quotation of Martin Luther King. I have a dream that one day that nation will rise up and live out the true meaning its creed, and everybody will live out the equality. And thank you.
I thank the Prime Minister for his speech, and now I would like the view of the leader in this case.
Mr. Speaker, sir, looking at side proposition, they had a lot of flowery words in their arguments, in their case itself. They told us, look, the point is that people are using this information. They are abusing this information and using it against certain ethnicities at the end. But the point, the burden they had to put to us was not that these people are going to use this information, that people are inherently racist. So they use racial profiling or other methods to abuse other individuals in society. But their burden was to prove us as why government shouldn't have this information on the first place. That is the problem that we have on this side of the house on the first place. Second of all, they told us, look, the problem is that the people are racist. So when you go to get a job or a career opportunity, because of your race, because of your ethnicity, you are being penalized and you are being deprived of those kind of things, of those kind of benefits and things. But let's be very honest, ladies and gentlemen. You identify a Muslim or you identify an African American not based on their birth certificate. You identify those individuals based on how they look, how they talk, and how they basically are generally in public at the end of the day. You identify Muslim because his name is Abdul, Mrs. Speaker, not because you take the birth certificate and look and say, look, this individual is a Muslim at the end of the day. So, ladies and gentlemen, racial profiling is anyway going to happen even if he passes motion at the end of the day. So, we see a huge problem solution mismatch on this side of the house as well. Third of all, ladies and gentlemen, we believe, look, even if there are individuals who are racist and who are depriving people from these opportunities, the point is the government is there to protect those kind of individuals. You are not allowed in the status quo, ladies and gentlemen, to take away job opportunity of individuals simply based on race. That is a fact, Mr. Speaker. So anyway, they are not going to solve anything as well. Third of all, even if we assume that you are able to do all these kind of things as well, the point remains that the government should take decisions not on the basis of what people want and at the end of the day. It's what the government seems best at the end of the day as well. So necessarily, the government is there to make sure that they cater for the needs of the people. So taking this information, if it does cater for the needs of the people, we are more than fine with passing with this motion standing as well. So looking at our case, Mr. Speaker, what is our stance? Basically, we are okay with governments taking this data or information to give benefits to these minorities or ethnic groups at the end. And to prove that, we have three main arguments. The first one being the experts. I'll tell you as to why governments need this information and why governments give tangible benefits to everyone through this information. The second one being my name is Khan. I'll tell you as to why identity is an integral part of people and what happens when you don't take this information and disregard people on a general scale as well. The third argument will be done by my second speaker. So moving on to my first argument. We believe that generally people are different based on their ethnicities and on their racial background. So they have different expectations from the government itself. They want different things from the government. So to make sure that the governments give this different expectation of the people, the government needs information from these people as well. And the best way to do is through this collection of information, through methods such as census, Mr. Speaker, where you are allowed to take information, where individuals from different ethnicities are able to give their own opinion and give what they want at the end of the day as well. So governments can compile this information and give benefit to people as well. In the case of African Americans, Mr. Speaker, who are deprived and suppressed in America, we see that the government, American government going out there and giving huge amount of benefits to them and giving educational benefits to targeted areas and locations which is under the poverty line and comprise of a majority African American population as well. Second of all, Mrs. B, you are able to get rid of misconceptions about people and races as well. Looking at countries, looking at basically looking at Europe itself, Mrs. B, they overestimate the amount of Muslims living in their neighborhood as well. So there's a general Islamophobic idea about it that is prevailing in these societies as well. They are going out there and saying, look, the Islamic community is taking all of our property and whatnot, and is basically going to take over Europe and whatnot. Europe as well. But the point is, when governments and credible sources go out and take proper information and say, look, you don't necessarily you overestimate the amount of Muslims which are living out there, you're able to get rid of these Islamophobic ideas and make sure that open-minded individuals are able to take proper rational choices as well. Third one, Mrs. Speaker, we told, moving on to my second argument, Mrs. Speaker, I'll tell you as to why identity is such an integral part of people. We believe, Mrs. Speaker, in countries such as France, which are extremely secular, which doesn't even record your ethnicity as huge problems at the end of the day. What are these problems? Well, looking at France itself, Mrs. Speaker, the problem is when you don't take this information, you're basically ignoring the needs of the community or the ethnicity or the Muslim people population living there as well. Basically, you don't actually go out there and cater for the needs of these individuals. Muslims in France aren't even allowed to wear hijab for God's sake, Mrs. P. The problem is because they don't identify the needs of those people, they generally create a huge amount of harms as well. On the second level, Mrs. P, how does the government create more harms to this population as well? Because governments don't take the information. What happens is that when a huge amount of refugees flow into these areas, they don't necessarily take the amount of information out there. So they are being alienated and they are being deprived of education and other rights at the end of the day. So there's a huge amount of harms happening to them as well. So for all these reasons, Mrs. P, we decide our position stands strong. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to present his speech.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a team and opposition. I directly get into telling that this House believes that government and racially diverse populations should never encode the ethnic or racial backgrounds of their residents. And I want to ask one thing from you, sir. That do you believe that whole records collected from the past years are saved in a safe place by government? I don't think so. I'm saying that the records which are saved and collected are recycled after 5 years or 10 years. I'm getting my points. That the state and race dividers. By dividing state and race, flowest feature is built. By dividing the state and race, collaboration will be stopped and reduced. Because of the state and race, our future generation will not consider these racial diversions and racial records. And the political benefit, as my PM said, nowadays most of the political persons use those records which are about the racial and the racial behavior or racial or ethnic characters for their purpose. Politicians are using those type of the records for their political purpose for their election. Sorry, sir, for the election or some other else. They are using those type of records and they are searching for minority and majority purposes and minority majority problems. He is using those type of votings or he is used such a stuff in his voting system. And another thing is working opportunities. By the racial and ethnic records, some companies or some people are using those type of the ethnic certificates and the racial certificates of records, and they use those to get a working opportunities. By these staffs in our country as well as all over the world, they are getting a good superior position, or they getting a good position in our country or all over the world. For example, member of parliament and superior government post in the government are like that. And those who get this work with these type of the racial records will be stopped by removing or destroying the records from the government. If with the help of these type of records, we are taking these positions. But when we removing these type of records from the government, we can get a good job for a qualified person who is graduated in a university or other else.
Point, sir.
Sorry, sir. And the economical development. Today, the main problem is the economical development in our country. Because of the war or the conflict between the societies or the communities, we have faced more than $250 million American loss. To equalize these type of the loss, we want to combine or we want to get a good. We want to connect communities which are racially or ethnical wisely divided. And by the records of the racial and ethnic behavior, our previous government faced many problems like this loss and wars or like that I said earlier. And yes, sir.
So, assuming this motion passes, what is your solution to racist organizations inventing statistics to create racist mentality? So, assuming this motion passes, what is your solution to racist organizations inventing statistics to make sure there's a racist mentality?
Yeah, I am saying about the records of the races and the ethnic. You are saying about the racist organizations and the other stuff like that. Why not stopping those type of the racial associations or that like stuff? I don't know. Why are you asking like that? And when we get a bridge among the two communities or two racial or our country divisions, we can make a good management belongs to include the communities or racial or ethnic groups. And in one report, Sri Lankan government and the Sri Lanka saying that misarrangement and the mismanagement between the communities are deep-root our economical level in a below manner. So I am saying by removing those type of the misarrangement and the mismanagement, we can build up a good country with a good economical level and economic development. And the opposition prime minister saying about the abusing and the misusage of these like of the record stuff. That's why we are also saying that these type of the abusing and these type of the misusage are reduced and destroyed by removing a record from our government. So I am finally saying that this house believes that governments with racially diverse population should never record the ethnic or racial background of the resident. Thank you for giving chance.
I thank the speaker for his speech. Now I would like to invite the opposition leader to present his case.
Mr. Speaker, sir, let's look at what the intelligence side proposition has taught us today. They've told us that, look, the fact is the state is recording these ethnic and racial backgrounds of the citizens. So what happens next? People aren't able to get jobs. Now, initially, ladies and gentlemen, we think that jobs aren't something that the state directly tells organizations to take upon or give these individual job opportunities. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, if you aren't taken into an organization because of your age, you have the judiciary, ladies and gentlemen. Please refer to the judiciary. Tell the judiciary that you were discriminated, you weren't given their opportunity, and you will get that opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. So we don't think, like my first speaker very clearly pointed out to you, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen a huge problem-solution mismatch from the side proposition. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, what this told us today was that now that there are census, it's going to be saved, it's going to be recycled, and it's going to be used by racist organizations with the racist mentality to make sure that the majority has a racist mentality. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, we think that is the exact reason why we need to have these records in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. Because if we do not have these records, we don't have that credibility to come out and say, look, this invented statistic is wrong, ladies and gentlemen. To show them the right statistic, to tell the people that, look, these people are lying, the majority is not this, the minority is not this. We don't have a problem in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. Stop creating problems. We won't be able to do that if we don't record this ethnic or racial background in the first place. And that's the exact reason that we've been pointing out to you, ladies, and pointing out to the House from the initial speech itself, ladies and gentlemen. We've been showing you that there's a huge problem-solution mismatch from side proposition. They're not addressing the proper problem and the proper solution in this case, ladies and gentlemen. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, we believe that they're not providing a simple solution or a small solution at all, ladies and gentlemen. Because we believe that the way to dilute racist mentality, to make sure that there is no racism, to eradicate racism from this planet Earth, ladies and gentlemen, is to make sure that there is proper understanding between races. To make sure that there is no phobia, make sure that there is no fear, make sure that there is no disgust between races. And the way to do that is to make sure that these records are in place to show the people, look, this happened back then, this happened back then. Learn from the mistakes. We don't want them to happen anymore, ladies and gentlemen. That is what we've been pressing on from the initial point, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why we need this in place. We don't think that when you don't record these ethnic or racial backgrounds, you can have understanding between races, because they don't know what they're facing. They don't know what's happened earlier. They don't know what to do. And the moment you don't know what to do, ladies and gentlemen, you overstep, you slip, you fall down, ladies and gentlemen, you create much more mistakes. And we, as a responsible side opposition, keeping up, doing side opposition jobs, right, side opposition job, we don't want this to happen. Yes.
Do you agree with the Facebook and Twitter growth like the social media, sir?
Could you rephrase that?
Do you agree with the social medias like Facebook, Twitter and the others, sir?
So merely because Facebook or Twitter has a post, I don't have to accept it. And even if I do, ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't prove anything on your part of the house. Secondly, having dealt with that, having shown you that side option has not addressed the problem, has not addressed the solution in any way proper, ladies and gentlemen, let me move on to my argument. My argument deals with the fact that the reason why we need ethnic or racial background to be recorded right now is essential. Now, why is it essential to record these ethnic and racial backgrounds? Because we see that some races and some ethnicities are on the verge of existence. And the state is the only helping hand that they can refer to, they can look to make sure that the state, whether race and ethnicity does not go into existence, ladies and gentlemen. Simply look at the Eskimos, ladies and gentlemen. We believe that the needs and the wants of the Eskimos are only going to be catered to by the state if they record the fact that the Eskimos are on the verge of existence, if they know for a fact that the Eskimos have to be preserved to make sure that they give the proper quality of life to these Eskimos. We believe that it is a major duty of the state to make sure that there is a proper quality of life and proper standard of living for these people. Now, my second speaker has clearly shown you what race and ethnicity means for a person, ladies and gentlemen. What it means, how integral race and ethnicity, how integral culture is, no thank you sir, how integral race, ethnicity and culture is for a particular person. And the moment you disregard that as a state is the moment you don't cater to the needs and wants of that particular race. And we don't want that to happen to the people, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, we believe that the moment that the state doesn't become the only source of help for these races, ladies and gentlemen, the state faces a huge problem. There's going to be backlash whether you like it or not, ladies and gentlemen. Because the majority, they don't really care whether that's a minority or whether that was a race that they didn't like at all, ladies and gentlemen. They are going to address the fact that the state let that race go into existence. The state didn't take any measure or any action to stop that race from going into existence. And the only way to make sure that the state doesn't go, that race or ethnicity doesn't go into existence is to have the facts with you, ladies and gentlemen. To have the census and the statistics of that particular race or ethnicity with you. We believe that should be in place. Now, what have I told you today, ladies and gentlemen? My first speaker has shown you that the problem is not the fact that this not what side proposition has been harping on, ladies and gentlemen. We've shown you the proper solution to the problem at hand is understanding. Now, how you have this understanding is by having the facts with you as a state initially, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we want. However, side proposition hasn't shown us that having a state, having these particular records is going to be detrimental to these people in the first place. And what they have shown us is that they won't get jobs. They'll be discriminated. First, ladies and gentlemen, we told you that jobs is not a fault of the state. And secondly, you have other organizations to look to if the state doesn't give you that right. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, we tell you that discrimination is going to exist whether you record the ethnicity or racist background, the racist background of this individual or not, whether you like it or not, ladies and gentlemen. Because we have shown you the proper problem and the solution, because we shown you a way to get rid of the problem, we tell you to side with side opposition.
I thank the speaker for his speech, and now I would like to invite the government to present.
Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen, and this house. And I'm really getting into the debates, and it's very and this house is the motion is very difficult, and what we are telling is very well much explained to the house that the governments with racial diverse population should never record the ethnic and racial background of the residents, because the ill effects and the future benefits are well clearly explained by my previous speakers, and I would like to do some rebuttals that why government should have these records. What is the main reason for having these records? How can you help that Eskimos and those extinct species by recording, just like by checking the stats? How can you help the particular race by checking the stats? How you can rather send some incentives and benefits plans to them, and then help to raise their standard. Rather you do just only checking the stats. What is the use of stats by writing on a piece of paper that you are Eskimo, you are a Muslim, you are a Christian? What is the use of it? The paper is just don't mean anything. And our second speaker just said that having the records will help to maintain the stats. Well, what do you mean by the stats, and in what way the stats help you? Do you really want to help a race, or want to show the stats to the world that we have such amount of people, we have such amount of people in this minority, in this majority? So you want to help people, or want to help people, or show the world that we have such some people? Sorry, sir. And our opposition leader said that name defines the race. That he's an my name is Salim. So how can you say that I am a Muslim? Maybe the right for following a religion is specific to a particular person. He can follow any religion that he wants. The name never defines what the particular religion he has to follow. And that is the contradiction between they have solved, my dear gentlemen. And what are the benefits of recording the stats about the races? The advantages are far more less than when compared to the ill effects. Yes, sir?
So are you aware that there are organizations, there are parties like the media, the international community, and the people to make sure that the states don't misuse the stats they have?
That is why, sir, what we are explaining. The stats can be misused And there are some in Western countries, there is a profile of making DNA samples, dental samples, and using his eye follicles for some particular purposes. But in foreign areas, this is a private issue. Only our countries facing, only the Asian countries face these particular issues. They require privacy issues. They demand the government, why do you keep our private information in your lockers and in the files? And when will you remove this from the lockers? And what will happen if someone shifts our profile to another one, and some innocence can be committed to some major issues? He can be committed accused for murder or some anything that he don't belongs to. And you have to see that in some countries with very large populations, China, Russia, and Canada, it is very and India particularly, it is very difficult to keep such vast amount of data. And it is there's a probability of risking that any cyber crimes can be committed by using these data, and no any government sector is so perfect. Nobody is perfect. And they said only when we are talking about the jobs, they said about the jobs are available to in the private sectors, and those who are giving the jobs in the private sector are using racial discrimination. But do not any government sectors have jobs? They recruit and they use some particular jobs for and they recruit the employees on the basis of racialism. This is what we are trying to eradicate from the government sector. We would like to eradicate that recruitment of employees to the jobs on the basis of racialism. Then only the private sectors can learn from what the government say, and we are the example for the people. We are the representative of the people. People don't want any racial discrimination or any racial problems in between them. For that, we take this step as the first one towards the very largest goal that no more disputes and no more ethnical clashes in between the races in the future. And it is the first point for the dream of a millionaire. And you would, if you are trying to oppose it, how can how can the people, those who have believed themselves in you, can be satisfied? They can. They put up their faith in yourselves, and you just betray them by giving a chance for the racial disputes in the future. We want no disputes in the future, and for the betterment of the country, race should be in a particular way, and state should be in a particular. It's just like the Western, just like this, few centuries ago, church-state conflicts have occurred. And it provided a very good example for that church and state problem is a good example for what I have just talked. And I thank you for the very chance you have given me. Thank you, dear ladies and gentlemen.
Now I would like to invite the opposition whip to deliver some points.
Ladies and gentlemen, knowing who a person is, knowing where he comes from is information. It's information that is vital to a government to facilitate its people, to facilitate its citizens, because that's what a responsible government does. Because that's what a responsible government goes out there and does, because knowing that you are a disabled person, knowing that you are this kind of person, knowing that you face this kind of problem, they go out there and solve these problems, knowing that you are this kind of person. And that is an information that is crucial for government to make sure that they can facilitate its people to their maximum capacity, right? So, in today's debate, this side of the house has come out and given us so many questions, has asked us so many questions without stating something that can be actually something that's actually can be used in, right? And then they brought up this interesting point in their third speech, showing that look, this is a violation of privacy. We can use the government going out and taking records. It's not good. It's bad and not right. But look, sir, when it's something a good procedure, something that's beneficial, the government still go ahead and do it, right? The United States still publishes stats, knowing that terrorists can misuse them, terrorists can use them to your own network, but they still does it because they have to be credible, they have to be a transparent government, and that's what a good state does. So with that, I'll be moving on to my main flashpoint, the role of state, right? Where I'll be discussing what a good state does and that is the state that we need in today, right? So first of all, they came out and talked about how the governments are oppressing people by taking these kind of records and whatnot, right? First of all, as my first and second speakers told you, we don't think that will essentially happen. Right? There are many checks and balances effective in this current status quo. Where look at a government going out and actually oppressing or suppressing community, make sure that these people rise up against them as well, right? And that makes a media in itself take action. This is an inherent cyclic mechanism that makes sure that people are accountable for what the government does as well, because they go out there and talk against it, which inherently makes causes attention to it, which is something the government doesn't go. So we think that these kind of inherent mechanisms make sure that the government doesn't use this information to go out there and oppress minorities or whatever, right? We think that this won't happen in any way if you take records, right? And then moving on to the other point about how politicians will start abusing it. We don't think that you need to go out there and pull some records and think how many people are living there and what races they belong to make sure that go out there and you abuse these kind of records, right? You don't have to do that. You can just simply look at them and see, look, these people are black and these people are African Americans. So you don't have to go there and pull out records and to make sure that you know that, right? So by the appearance and by simply judging by your social norms itself, you can differentiate people. So we think that you don't need to pull out records to make sure and go out there and start discriminating people, right? So inherently we are saying, even if you don't take records, this discrimination, this racism will happen in the status quo. But I will prove to you later on in the speech by not taking records how you can amplify this problem and make it something that we can't solve, right? Then move and then look right. They talk about how the government is supposed to be, how the government should not oppress people and whatnot, right? Look right. By the government going out there and taking records is showing that the government cares for you. It's the government facilitating you on a much more deep level, and that's what the government is supposed to do. And then second of all, look right. Once you know that you have records, you can make sure that they are facilitated. Okay. The assumed country of India might know that look, there are so many Sri Lankans and Hindus in India. We might have to give them the new holiday next day. That's how we facilitate people. That's how we facilitate people by knowing that there are so many Muslims that they need that need taken care of. And that's how the government takes care of their people by having that records. And by having that records, you can solve many problems as well. You can make sure that there are no misconceptions against the Islamists as well. And look at, have any of you ever seen a research doc or a research paper saying that, look, right, this percentage of Muslims are like this, this percentage of Muslims are not. There are nothing like that we can done this status quo. By doing something like that, we can actually show that, look, what they are saying is something outright like this kind of thing doesn't have Muslims are actually good. Who knows, but they still haven't done it. What we are saying is, look, we need something to do that, to make sure that these kind of misconceptions are cleared upon and that people don't go out there and start assuming things and start extrapolating things and make sure that these racist mentalities are not activated in the status quo, right? And look, we see that kind of things happening in the status quo in the status quo itself. And then moving on what they are saying, right? Look, let's don't record these kind of things. What they said out in the first page was, look, we have vague numbers of which kind of people are living, and then we'll carry out on the basis that is a government which is not credible. That is a government who is showing that, look, there might be this X number of people living in of this ethnicity and whatnot. Let's spend some money. This is a waste of resources as well, and this might not be facilitated with those people to maximum extent as well. And this is not something the government should do, right? And the similar they talk about this employee misstatement and how people will not be interviewed, right? Look, if you don't record it instead of whatnot, the people can't go up to the board and say, look, they didn't give me a job because I have this kind of ethnicity. The government can't facilitate those people because they don't recognize that these people exist in the state. So we don't see that people can be, we don't even see that racism even can be solved on this side of the house, right? And we tend to look at, if you don't record these kind of things, other people can go out there and make sure, other people who are racist can go out there and make sure that the other race is different from this, right? And this is something the government doesn't know, because this is something that because this is something that will make racism evaluated to much more higher level, and this is something a good government does not do. But look, right, this kind of house tells you, look, we must record these kind of things. First of all, look, we can facilitate people onto a much better level, and we can make sure that problems like racism can be addressed instead, because we recognize that these people are there, we recognize that they have problems, and we recognize that they can bring their problems to us, which we can solve. I can recognize this person is from this individual, this ethnicity, and he has been discriminated, and I can solve that problem. But they can't do it. They can't facilitate the problem you face because you are from that ethnicity. And because of that, I think this house stands strong in this debate, and I give you to side of it. Thank you.
I would like to invite an opposition speaker to deliver the reply speech consisting of 4 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this debate we have two sides. Firstly, the utopian side, the side proposition, who believe that simply getting rid of the census form, you're able to solve racism. Simply that collecting census form is inherently going to make the government use that information and misuse it and create a lot of problems. On the other hand, we have the realistic side from this side of the house, who believe that racism is based on pre-constructed perception. Racism, which is based on stereotype. So anyway, even if you don't have census form, even if you don't have all this information flowing around, you're still going to have racism. You're still going to make sure that you're racially profiling individuals. You're still going to make sure that you are going to discriminate your other fellow individuals from different ethnicities, whether it be getting a job, whether it be on the street, or whether it be simply in any other case as well. So anyway, they won't be solving anything. They won't be solving the problem that they had put on themselves as well. But on the other hand, we have this side of the house coming in and telling you that governments need this information, that governments need this information to make proper rational choices, to give benefits to individuals such as African Americans, to give benefits to Muslims in countries such as in Europe, which are being discriminated, which based on misconceptions about those cultures, about those religions as well. So we have given you tangible benefits. On the other hand, this side of the house haven't proved to us anything and haven't given us proper analysis as to what they're actually solving. Because it's confusing from this side out as to what they're actually trying to solve at the end of the day. Is it government misusing this information? Is it these racist societies groups using this information and targeting different ethnicities at the end of the day? That is not clear from this side. But on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, we told you that governments are able to facilitate benefits to individuals. That governments are able to give and provide benefits to individuals who are deprived of such benefits. And also, Mr. Speaker, we told you as what happens when you don't take this census information and this data as well. You're basically going to alienate individuals in society. You're going to make sure that the Muslim community in Europe isn't going to be recognized at the end of the day in countries such as France. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the countries such as France doesn't take into account any ethnicity as well. Even if those ethnicities are thriving within those countries, they simply don't recognize them at the end of the day. So that means those people are going to be alienated. That means those people aren't going to be recognized in government, and they are going to be inherently go against those population and to go against those government as well. So we told you what happens when governments don't take this into account as well. But no reply from this side of the house as well. No reply as to what happens, all about the harms, all about the benefits. Instead, Mrs. Speaker, we told you as to why their concepts are utopic. We told you as to why what they are talking about is never going to happen as well. So, summarizing my speech, Mr. Speaker, we told you from the beginning itself, throughout our speeches, that they have a huge problem-solution mismatch in the beginning itself. We told you, Mr. Speaker, that their solution doesn't support the problem itself. Even if it does support this problem, we told you it creates a huge amount of more harm at the end of the day. Throughout my speech, throughout my second speaker's speech, and throughout all the speeches as well. So, for all these reasons, Mr. Speaker, we tell you to side with side opposition, which is the rational and realistic party in this debate. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite the government to deliver the speech. Once again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to go through my points that we are again and again saying that we are not saying the records as a bad thing. We are saying it's a risky to our citizens because you want to understand the records. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a small doubt. We all know about these social medias and these social like FB, Twitter, and so on. And because 1,000 people are get connected with that FB and that Twitter and those type of the social medias. I want to ask one thing. If when you are sign up those type of the social media, are there any requirement for the racial or the ethnic records or those like of the stuff, sir? I have a big doubt on that. And I want to say another thing. How can you estimate the power of a common man by a racial background and racial record on a paper? You want to give a priority to the talent of a person. Please understand that. Dr. Ambedkar said once upon a time in India, he said that Indians can have any religion or ethnic or racial, but India doesn't have anything. I'm saying now, Sri Lanka can have any racial or the ethnic or the religion, but Sri Lanka doesn't have those type of stuff. I'm summarize my points. First of all, our Prime Minister said about the survey records, about the race and the ethnic backgrounds, about resident is not essentials, and what are the huge risks and ill effects about the records of the racial and the ethnical backgrounds. And second speaker said about the separation of the state and the racial for the build of the future and the economical problems as well as the work opportunity problems. And third speaker reversed every point you have made, reversed everything you have mentioned. And at last, I'm saying one thing to all of them. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a doubt. What is the need to put a long blank in our birth certificate to put a racial name or the ethnic name? Just put a small box to tick are you Sri Lankan or not. At last, I'm saying one nation and one country. Thank you for giving me a chance.
thank speakers on both sides for the interesting debate. Now I would like them to cross over and shake hands and take seat with the audience.
And I would like to invite one of the judges to give out the decision, the final decision.
Alright. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First off, thank you for inviting us to judge the debates. When I got the call from the debaters council, I didn't know that it was an event of such magnitude. We usually go for debates with a far easier, relaxed frame of mind. Having said that, it's an honor to be here in the kind of setting where we have the north and the south kind of reconciling, and that's always a good thing to say. Now to come to the debate. Congratulations to both Jaffna as well as Ananda for putting up a good show. Congratulations for taking on a topic which a lot of us would not want to handle even with kid gloves on. So how did it go? From debating parlance, there are few clash points which we think dominated the debate. The first was, if there are records, how and in what way could they be misused, and therefore should they be done away with. That was the underlying argument on the side of the proposition. The fear that recording race or ethnic background would then hound them into the future, and that therefore it needs to be removed. Now on the other hand, the Panikkar Darbara Singh Memorial Shield was Ananda College.
I would like to invite the project chairman for Siva Gurunathan Memorial Trophy and Panikkar Kanabala Singh Memorial Silent Shield, Vimal Vijay Singh. And to assist him with the prize distribution, I would like to invite Tilan Dasanayaka, the president of the 2006 All Boys Group. And he wishes to present this book to the OBA president of Jaffna Hindu College through a brilliant product of Ananda College, Mr. Jolly Somasundaram, who is a former civil servant. Please, I invite you on stage to give out the book. And to receive the book, I would like to invite the president of the All Boys Association of Jaffna Hindu College. Of this book to Professor Sudarshan Senavilagna, who is a valuable Anandin.
To speak a few words and propose a vote of thanks on behalf of Ananda College at the conclusion of the third annual debate encounter between Jaffna Hindu College and Ananda College Kalam, Panikkar Kanabala Singh debate. While expressing our sincere gratitude to all those who contributed in making this annual debate a pleasant and memorable event,
We Anandians look forward to see you in Jaffna for a similar exciting event next year. Thank you.